Firstly, let me start by thanking Early Childhood Ireland and Leagas for inviting Eurochild to contribute to today's event, which is focusing on how the EU's Erasmus Plus programme can reach and benefit professionals working in the early childhood education and care sector. As Eurochild, we know the importance of ensuring ECEC services reach the most vulnerable children and families, and that in order to provide the necessary quality of care, we need qualified professionals and an environment where professionals feel valued and supported. We welcome that the EU is paying attention to these issues. Adoption of the EU quality framework on ECEC was an important milestone, and we particularly acknowledge the work of DG Education and Culture in continuing to engage the EU member states in its implementation and monitoring through this working group on ECEC that I'm sure you'll hear about over the course of the event. In Eurochild, we've been advocating to end child poverty across Europe for almost 2 decades. And in this slide, you can see the levels of child poverty in Europe according to Eurostat in 2020. Child poverty has a negative impact on children's lifelong development and can impact the economic development and long-term resilience of our societies. Almost a quarter of children in the EU are at risk of poverty and social exclusion, and the effects of COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine are further exacerbating the situation. But in 2021, we saw an important milestone with the EU's adoption of the European Child Guarantee Initiative. All EU member states signed up to this commitment in June. The European Child Guarantee requires that all member states guarantee free and effective access to early childhood education and care, education and school-based activities, at least one healthy school meals each school day and healthcare, as well as effective access to healthy nutrition and adequate housing. All EU member states are asked to develop the national action plans to set out how they're going to deliver on these commitments. The deadline passed on the 15th of March of this year, and unfortunately to date, we've only seen 8 national action plans submitted, not including Ireland. Eurochild established a task force of members to help advocate for the implementation of the European Child Guarantee and set out a number of key demands. Firstly, we asked that each member state give responsibility to a national coordinator who has the necessary power and resources to make meaningful national action plan and its implementation. We're also calling that the national action plans address the priority to be given to the children who are most in need, and that they identify and close the gaps in key services. Effective implementation requires coordination and collaboration across ministries for an intersectoral approach. We also need better and more data collection, an effective monitoring and evaluation system, as well as realistic but ambitious targets. We need more budget transparency in how the national member states are spending EU money on implementing the Child Guarantee. And we want to see meaningful and sustainable involvement of all stakeholders, including civil society, regional, local and other relevant authorities, as well as children and young people themselves. In January, we launched 6 country reports, one of which is on Ireland, carried out by our member Children's Rights Alliance Ireland. Another means through which we are advocating for implementation of the European Child Guarantee is the First Year's First Priority campaign that we established in collaboration with the International Step by Step Association. This campaign specifically focuses on advocating for political prioritisation and public spending on early childhood development. It focuses on children from birth to 6 years, with specific attention to the first 1,000 days. And we're particularly concerned with those children who are most in need, those living in extreme poverty, those of ethnic minorities, including traveller and Roma communities, those of migrant and refugee families, and children with disabilities. The campaign is implemented by 9 national organisations who are coordinating at national level, advocating for cross-sectoral coordination of policies and leverage of the EU instruments to drive change. It's particularly important that the European Social Fund Plus programme has been asked to allocate resources to help tackle child poverty. And in those countries who have higher than average child poverty levels, 5% of their ESF Plus money should be spent on tackling child poverty. Even if these resources will never actually meet the full needs to sustain quality services for children and families, we know that if used effectively, they can have a catalytic effect. And that's what we're trying to achieve through the campaign by scaling up what works and influencing national budgets in the long term. To create lasting change, we continue to work at national and EU level to create a virtuous circle between grassroots activism, NGO services, and national policy, legislative and public spending reforms, so that all children can have the best possible start in life. Here you can see the vision of our approach to early childhood development, and we advocate for a holistic approach where in the 9 countries where we're running the campaign, we produced country profiles which look at data collected across 6 dimensions: poverty, maternal and child health, safety and security, early learning, family support, and the level of cross-sectoral coordination on early childhood development. If you'd like to know more about the campaign, please go to firstyearsfirstpriority.eu. Or also on Eurochild's website, you can find all the latest information we're gathering on implementation of the Child Guarantee and other EU instruments. Thank you again for inviting Eurochild to be part of this event, and I wish you a successful meeting. Thank you.